Hello everyone. So yeah, John will play a video because I have a little baby at home. So just in case he wakes up during the presentation, I register a video before for John, and for sure I stay here. If you have any question, you can ask on Slack and after the talk. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Fanny and I'm really happy to speak at Chicago Roboto today and to meet you all virtually. So first, I will start with a disclaimer. This session has been recorded because I have a really young baby at home and I wanted to make sure that we will not be disturbed during the presentation. But I'm available during the whole presentation in the chat to answer your question and also at the end of the presentation. Okay, that's it about me. Today I want to talk to you about Manuel. Manuel is blind. I met him a few months ago and he shared with me his experience with his smartphone. And today I want to share with you a few things from that discussion. First thing I want to share with you is how some apps that are really useful to him, not a way that we would have expected when we designed the application. For example, there is a French application called Yuka. This application is aiming to help people to know if what they are buying at the supermarket is healthy or not, just by scanning the product barcode. Well, actually, Manuel told me that he is using this application to know if the bottle of juice he has in his hand, if it's apple juice or orange juice. Second thing Manuel shared with me is how it takes lots of effort to try a new app for a blind person, and with no guarantee at the end that the app will be usable. Sometimes the app seems accessible, but at least, yes, reusable, and the user experience is maybe not so great, but Manuel is able to navigate in the app. But there are still some key features that are not accessible. For example, Manuel uses a music stream application, a French one, and it cannot play the sounds of its music on an external device like his Google Home, because this feature in the app is not accessible, which is quite a shame. I also talked with Celine, who is blind also, and I realized from our discussion that for the moment there is only a few apps that are accessible. I have one statistic about the web. There is only 10% of the web who is accessible. I don't have the statistic for mobile, but I don't see why it will be different. And with Celine, we discussed a lot about online shopping experience. And of course, with the pandemic, we all shop online even more than usual. And for her, it was a nightmare Christmas shopping, because to buy only one gift, it took her like few hours. Well, for me, it would have taken me, for example, less than an hour. And with no guarantee at the end that she was able to buy the gift. Also in France, there is no grocery shop application that are accessible. Manuel and Celine still have to do that on their laptop on the web. And besides the statistic I shared with you about 10% of the web which is accessible, what really shocked me here is for a blind person, it should be easier to buy grocery or to buy something online than going to the supermarket. And it's not. Okay, so after this long discussion with Manuel and Celine and getting more and more interested in accessibility lately, I want to share with you some key learnings. The first thing is that we should stop making assumptions. We should remove the following sentence for our brain. But a blind person will never use my app, because it's wrong. No matter what you think, it's always wrong. And trust me, I've made that mistake before. I was developing an application for people who run, and I told myself I don't have to make so much effort on the accessibility part, because a blind person don't run, and it's totally wrong, so trust me. Second thing I've realized is how accessibility leads to innovation. There is lots of examples in the past, but today I want to share with you 2 examples on the mobile. On Android 12, we will be able to control our smartphone with our face. What does it mean? It means that people with motor disabilities could assign gesture that they are able to perform with their face to perform an action on the phone, like, for example, moving to the next element. This is called camera switch. Another nice accessibility feature is from Apple. Apple is actually an incredible leader on accessibility since the first iPhone. And on the Apple Watch, they released what is called assistive touch. It aims that people with motor issues that cannot interact with the touchscreen, they can still interact with the watch by hand gesture, like pinching or clenching. Let's see this short video. Here on the video, you can see someone wearing an Apple Watch, and this person double click to activate assistive touch, then pinch the finger to move the focus on the button on the screen. Okay, last thing I want you to realize is that disability impacts actually lots of persons. In life, 1 person in 5 will or is facing disability. So we really need to focus a little bit more about those people. Okay, I hope now that you are wondering how can I make my app accessible to improve those people's life. Well, making an app accessible implies doing things at many levels of your product development. When you think of a new feature, when you design it, when you develop it, when you test it. And there are lots of people involved with different responsibilities. Today I want to share with you a list of best practices that I think are the responsibilities of the developer to make an app accessible with people with visual impairment. The first thing you have to do as a developer is to know how people with visual issue use their smartphone and use your app. They are actually using probably Talkback. Talkback is a screen reader on Android, and you can activate Talkback in the accessibility settings of your Android phone. Today I will give you some explanation of basic gesture you can perform with Talkback so you can understand better later the best practice I want to share. The important thing to know about Talkback is that it will scan elements on your screen from the top to the bottom, from the left to the right, and focus on each element one at a time. In this example, we have a settings menu with a list, and the focus here is on the first element. You can see it with the surrounded square, green square. Well, when this element is focused, Talkback will say out loud, profile detail, 1 of 10, double tap to activate. That leads us to the first gesture with Talkback is double tap. You can double tap anywhere on the screen and it will perform the action behind the focus element, here a click event. The second gesture I want to share with you is how to navigate between elements. If, in this example, we want to move to the next element, we have to swipe right anywhere on the screen and Talkback will move to the next one and say payment 2 of 10, double tap to activate. The first gesture is the single tap gesture. This gesture is used with people with low vision that are still able to see the screen and can tap directly on the element that they want to focus on. And also it's really useful as a developer to go quickly to something you want to test. So for example here, if I want to move to the menu, I just have to single tap of the profile tab and Talkback will focus on this element. The fourth gesture allow us to choose in the menu the action behind the swipe up and swipe down gesture. To access this menu, perform a quick swipe up and swipe down gesture or swipe down, swipe up gesture. And you will be able to choose between different possibilities like changing the speech rate or reading something letter by letter that can be really useful to read, for example, a password, or headings. Let's see if we configure the swipe up or swipe down gesture to headings. So if we do that, and in the code, in this example, we have set the heading section of this list to headers. Well, when Talkback has the focus on one of these elements, if you swipe up, it will move to the previous heading section, and if you swipe down, it will move to the next heading section. Okay, now you know basic gesture of Talkback. Let me share with you a list of best practice to develop accessible app with Jetpack Compose. The first advice is the most important one, and that can make your app completely inaccessible if you don't care about it. It's adding content description to images. For example, here we have a shopping app with an image of a t-shirt. As a blind user, if we don't have a content description here, we are not able to know what is the product, unless moving to 8 elements after the images where you see the label t-shirt with cutout style. We should at least add the product name as the content description here. So we had content description, and yeah, we can do that. Moreover, on this screen, you can see there is 4 images to pick the color of the t-shirt. And here we have to click on those images to pick the color. So we should also add content description here to allow a blind user to know which color is picking. Otherwise, we will not be able to pick a color as well, or to understand what are those buttons. Second use case is about hiding decorative elements. It improves the user experience. In this example, we have an error screen of a pet sitter application. Something went wrong, and although the dog is cute, we may want to hide the image so Tollback will not focus on it and will move directly to the oops message. But be careful, in this kind of situation, depending on your content strategy or what you want to share with the user, you probably also want to add actually a content description. For example, also if you have user with low vision, maybe they are able to see the shape, and they probably want also to know what is behind this shape. So you always have to ask your the question to hide or not to hide for images like this. Next best practice is to improve text spoken by Tollback when it's not human readable. For example, on this same pet sitter apps, we have the profile page of a pet sitter. And if we do nothing about the daily rate of the pet sitter, Tollback will announce $16/day. We can improve that. So to do that, we add the modifier.semantics and with the property text, and we specify to Tollback how we should read this information. So here it should say $16 per day. As a rule, every time you pronounce something out loud differently, or when the context is implicit by other non-textual elements, for example here the stars for this pet sitter, if we do nothing, also it will only say 4.1, and maybe we can also improve the same way to say the evaluation of this pet sitter is 4.1. Next situation, when there is lots of elements on the screen. And imagine if you have to go through all elements by swiping right. It can be exhausting. So we can improve the user experience as well here by grouping elements together. For example, here we have a group of elements containing information about the person, if the person has a pet, a house, or a car. We can group all elements by adding the modifier, semantics, and with the property merge descendant to true. And this way Tollback will say at once no pets, house and car owner. Okay, now let's talk about the situation when we design something on the Z index. Sometimes when we do that, reading order with Tollback doesn't make sense anymore, and we would like to influence the reading order. For example, the Gmail application with the floating action button. If we do nothing and we have an infinite list of emails behind, well, Tollback will never focus the send create new email button, which is quite a shame for the Gmail app. So we should fix that. For the moment, with Jetpack Compass, there is no way, sadly, to influence the reading order of elements. I open an issue, and please, if you can check it and add a +1, it will be really useful. But I want to share with you how to fix that with the old XML way. You only have to add the accessibility traversal before and after property, and to specify, okay, I want the floating action button to be read before the mail list, but after the profile picture. Next situation, we have seen that earlier when we swipe up or swipe down, we can move between headings. It improves the user experience as they can move faster on the screen between elements. To specify here that those heading sections are headings, actually, we only have to add modifier.semantics with headings inside the curly braces. Next advice I want to share with you is that sometimes it can be useful to disable elements and also to override other element behavior, for example, element with a state like switch button. Let's go through this example. We have a list of settings, and on each row we have a text with a switch button. If we do nothing, TalkBack will focus first on the row and then focus on the switch. It can be really long to go through the whole list this way. So what we can do is to actually merge the row and the switch button. So when the row is selected, we know the switch button state, and we can double tap on the row to perform on and off on the switch button. To do that, first we have to remove the focus on the switch button. To do that, we add the modifier .clear and set semantics with nothing inside the curly braces. But now the new user is not able to perform the switch action. It actually don't know that there is a switch on the screen. Let's fix that. First, we apply the switch behavior to the entire row by adding the toggable modifier on the row. Then, to give the user the information about the state of the switch, we add the modifier semantics with the property state description, and we say to TalkBack what it should say out loud when the states change. So this way, when TalkBack focus on this row, it will say profile detail on, double tap to toggle, and if you double tap, it will say off. Okay, that's it for the list of my best practice to develop accessible app for people with visual impairment. There is a lot to know about about accessibility. Accessibility is not about only about visual impairment. I really encourage you to check the Jetpack Compose accessibility documentation. There is also a brand new Jetpack Compose accessibility code lab, so you should try it also. And really try to understand how disabled users use your app. Try to reach them if you have some in your user bases, and try TalkBack on your phone. Thank you, and if you have any question, feel free to ask.